Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 23rd, 2024 Whitesburg Unified School District Board meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. Wendy, do we have any comments on closed agenda items?
Do not have any comments.
All right, seeing no comments, we will now recess to closed session and we will reconvene today at 6 o'clock p.m. for the regular board meeting. Thank you, everyone.
You want to do it again?
No, we're not doing that again. We're not making a decision. Robert, would you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And welcome, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful break. We have a full agenda this evening. We have a myriad of presentations and we'll just introduce them as we go, okay? Now, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
You have a motion.
Thank you, Neil.
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. All in favor?
Aye.
And we have, our next item is a public hearing on the TK. Yes.
Go ahead, you can finish that. You want-
No, go ahead.
Jump in?
Go ahead, jump in. I think you're gonna maybe make an introduction. So go ahead.
So, yeah, we're actually, we do have a public hearing. To introduce a public hearing, we're actually going to have a presentation to introduce a public hearing, related to the MAP committee. So it is a little bit probably misleading if you look down, and my fault on this. 8.2, public hearing, Holly Compton. It probably should have not said 8.2 because really it's in 5.1. But nonetheless, we're going to have Holly Compton and the math committee. I think they're all here today. And I do want to extend sincere thank you to you all for the work. I know it was a big challenge, to select and a big decision. So thank you very much for that. I guess Holly will come up prior to the public hearing and then we'll open public hearing. Okay. Perfect.
Welcome, Holly.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Dr. Silvers. And for anybody watching, my name is Holly Compton. I've had the pleasure to lead the math committee this year. And we have been working very diligently this year on our textbook adoption. So it's my pleasure this evening to stand before you to recommend Eureka Math Squared for the TK5 math textbook adoption. All right. Here we go. Yeah, okay, got it. Oh, see, double click. Practice this part. Sorry. Well, we can just recognize our pilot teacher since we're on this slide. So we had 12 pilot teachers overall, and we had TK and K forming one team. And then first through fifth grade, each had 2 members, and we had all school sites represented. So a huge shout out goes to our pilot teachers. Many of them are here with us tonight, but as you know, we have 2 open house tomorrow. So some of the teachers were not able to make it. Which computer am I pointing? That one, that's why. Next slide. Okay, got it. All right, so I know I walked you through the process just a little bit last time we met, but for anybody tuning in, we wanted to give an overview of the process that we went through. First and foremost, we created our mission and vision so that this would form our lens for the adoption process. After that, we identified our essential standards, and we know that California has lots and lots of standards, but we wanted to make sure we had focused standards, what was most important to us, so that when we were viewing curriculum, we knew what we were looking for. After that, we went to our must-have list. So there are things that are nice to have and things that you must have in a textbook adoption. So we created a list of non-negotiables for us as teachers and what we wanted to see for our students in the classroom. After that, we had those things in mind and we went to the California Math Conference and we rated textbooks and publishers using a rubric. And from there, we had basically a top 6, and after our top 6, we narrowed it down to the top 3. And we invited those top 3 to come make a pitch for us at Weisburn. And from there, we selected the top 2, being iReady and Eureka Math Squared. And from that, the team has made the selection or the recommendation for Eureka Math Squared. Okay. Oh, here we are again. All right, and then I wanted to share a little bit about Eureka Math Squared with you, just so you could learn the program a little bit. I know it's out for public viewing, so I hope you've had a chance to take a peek at it, but some of the foundational pieces I would like to share with you tonight. Go to the First and foremost, what we really found with this curriculum is that it was really centered on the student. What can the student do? How does our student learn? And we know that students learn in different ways, right? So this was designed with the UDL approach, or Universal Design for Learning. So you can see that the lessons move from simple to complex, concrete to abstract. And there were connections between concepts. So one of the call outs was in the upper grades, the teachers were talking about how they liked how metric conversions were taught with fractions. So those things were going together. Those are both things that we have to hit and hit hard. So the blend was really nice. So it also allowed us to practice those real world application problems and get to the rigorous questions because they were intentionally designed. And then the parents were surveyed, and one of the things that they called out that they really liked about this was there was a homework support tool for every single lesson and every single question. So it was a strong family support. All right, I want to take you into the back end a little bit. So this is one of the things that you would see as a teacher, and I'm showing this to you because the focus is, again, rigor. So all of this is built upon rigor. So you're not just practicing math facts. First, you're going to develop the concrete understanding of what you're doing, or the conceptual understanding, and you're practicing facts. And then you're applying it in context. And then finally, the SMPs, or the standards for mathematical practice, are embedded in every lesson. So attend to precision, model with mathematics, etc. I also wanted to call out that in the agenda here, you can see that the time needed is really 60 minutes per lesson, which allows us to get to those more in-depth questions. So that is something that we are shifting to make sure we're addressing the need to have 60 minutes in math 5 days a week. Go to the next one, thank you. All right, one more thing on the teacher end. We have, this is the teacher manual, another view here, but I really want to hone in on the exit ticket. Last time I gave you a little preview of what an exit ticket is, but an exit ticket is a quick assessment of learning at the end of each and every lesson. It's a perforated page that the kids do one single question, and then the teacher is able to assess, do they have it? Or are they still working on it? And then that really helped our teachers form our win time instruction. And that was one of the things that as a group we felt was really, really strong. It was impacting our instruction quickly. All right, now this is another page, but it has a number of pages on here. I just wanted to show you that this program was thought with English learners or multilingual learners in mind. There are hands-on activities. There's language support called out for our students in the teacher materials. But there's also talking and thinking tools, which we also know that all learners of mathematics are language learners because everyone has to learn the language of the discipline, right? So these thinking tools and talking tools are good for everybody in the classroom. They're in every child's book, and the teachers are going to get one of the large colorful posters that you see. All right, and let's see. I think I addressed some of this already, but I just wanted to make sure that UDL was called out because that is so important, right? So the universal design for learning, the access and equity for all, the language support, etc., is right there. These blue rectangles are the call outs for each of these things for the teachers to note before attending to the lesson. All right, and one of our favorites is the teachers and the students have an online version, and the teachers get not just their grade level, the teachers get access to all the grade levels. So if you're having a child who's really missing something from the grade level prior, you can go back and you can see how it was taught, or you can go back and use some of the materials for your wing time. You also have presentations for yourself already made, and you can edit those presentations. And the students, I'm sure the parents will love to know that there is 24-hour access to the math curriculum. So if they have forgotten a book, it is available online. So the students can do things online too. They can complete assignments online.
Oh, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You talk about UDL. How does that happen in a paper format, or is that happening primarily in the digital?
No, it would be, so if you think of a math lesson, the paper is at the end of the lesson, really. So you're doing routines around numbers. So it could be a number talk, it could be like little kids, get 10 rods and they put the rod behind their back and they break off some and show you like, there's 5 in my hand, what's behind my back, right? So you have manipulatives and tools going at the forefront of the lesson. And you can see here some of the tools that are standard practices in lessons like, these are arrays, but there are number bonds, base 10 blocks, etc. Right? So then once you do all of that pre-work, then you go into the workbook. And again, the home support was very strong with Eureka. There were 2 levels of support. The one I'm showing here is a family math letter giving ideas to families what they can do at home. The other one was the one sheet a night going with every single homework page to attend to the students' needs during that homework lesson. And I think I'm going to be welcoming Mrs. Bennett here. Yes, this is Mrs. Bennett, our 5th grade aviation teacher. Holly. Hi, everybody. Like Holly said, I teach 5th grade at aviation. I am very excited to be talking on behalf of my awesome colleagues today. There's a lot of things highlighted up there that we talked about in our meetings, but I just wanted to point out a couple from a teacher feedback perspective. Something that's huge across all grades, and especially in 5th grade before I send them to middle school, is rigor. I truly felt that Eureka Math Squared hit the standards. It opened my eyes to new ways of teaching the standards so that our students are confidently succeeding and preparing for the middle school level. Little things like visually, the pages have a lot of workspace. I felt like I could add in my own teacher. Like Holly said, UDL abilities before jumping into the lesson, number talks, and I think the kids really felt like they had the space to do that. We hit a lot on the caregiver help page. Parents let me know that that was a really important thing to them. And I want to say that students were begging me when the pilot ended to finish out the year using Eureka. And I actually personally feel the same if adopted, just how excited I am to get back into the workbooks. I truly feel as a teacher, I think we all do, the consistency that we're going to be able to see from the kinder level to the 5th grade level. I just think that our district math abilities are just going to soar with Eureka Math Squared. So thanks for letting me touch on that. Oh, and I'm gonna bring up Emily Rakowski, who is a primary teacher in first grade. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us here and being here for our presentation. An important part of our pilot process was seeking feedback from all stakeholders, including parents, caregivers, teachers, and most importantly, the students. At the end of each 6-week pilot, a survey was sent out to all stakeholders, parents, teachers, and students, to allow feedback in all aspects of the pilot, as far as for students, their understanding and their enjoyment of the curriculum. For parents and caregivers, how easy was it to help at home? For teachers, how was it from the classroom perspective, implementing, understanding the curriculum and a new teacher manual, a new process. My first graders loved filling out the survey. They have not stopped asking to fill out surveys since. We're making some for open house, so you'll be able to see them. But I think having that feedback from all perspectives helped us round out our pilot to really ensure that we're making the most thorough decision with all perspectives considered. So, and parents in my class were excited to get their feedback as well, as was I. I really enjoyed participating in the pilot. So having that feedback at the end when we came to our final consensus to recommend Eureka Math Squared really helped us have a thorough process, as I said. And yeah, I think I'm going to throw it back to Holly for our next slide. All right. So the next part we get to talk about is action. So I'm excited to ask this evening for the WUSD Board of Trustees approval for our Eureka Math Squared recommendation. But before we ask for that, I want you to know we are already planning. So we have TK to 5 release days coming, and I have been working on that while the teachers have been busy, prepping. And we have full days coming up, and our focus for those days is going to be kind of getting our math standards and learning targets planned for Q1 of next school year and looking at pacing guides. We also have teacher collaboration time. It's kind of all rolled in together. The teacher collaboration time is going to focus on that PLC process, which is going to kick off and get us really started on our release days. And then we are going to be curriculum mapping. I've already kind of started digging into that, and we'll be working a little bit on that during our release days, but those curriculum maps will be a work in progress and finished Stein, Still, and Willard by the end of next school year. And then finally, we have 2 professional development days in August. And the majority of our teachers are able to attend, and we're so excited to get the Eureka Math Squared launched during those PD days. That's what I have.
Any questions? Yes, question?
Good question, please.
Comment and a question. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of our teachers. I had the privilege of attending the Aviation Family Math Night, and I saw a lot of our teachers there and a lot of parents and students, and there was a lot of great energy around math. And a lot of it is what I see tonight in your presentation, all of the speakers, and just by the attendance of so many of our teachers and guests. It's really exciting to see the involvement and the attention in math. So thank you. First of all, thank you for all your hard work that's already gone into this. I do have a question in terms of, and I heard the word rigor several times. And so my question is related to rigor. As I was walking to attend the Aviation Family Math Night, I spoke with the parent that was walking to the event, and I asked, well, what brings you out other than his math? Obviously, we know what the topic is, right? And his response was interesting in that he wanted to see if there was something that could be more challenging for his son. He was not, I guess he's high achieving in terms of math. So my question to you is, how do you feel this program, Eureka Math Squared, in terms of its range? Can it service all of our students at their individual levels? Meaning those students that are doing well, maybe, and some students that are probably struggling, and those that are high achievers. Where does this program fall on that spectrum?
The teachers really talked about how rigorous this program was, especially in comparison to the other programs that we looked at. It starts off easier with an easier entry point and it quickly builds to multi-step problems. So I really think it is rigorous, but of course, in the PLC process, one of the questions that we have to answer is what do we do if they already know it?
Right.
So that is something that we will be addressing together, and we have to do that with any textbook company that we would adopt. But I really do feel like this program is rigorous and will meet the needs of our students who are already excelling in math.
Okay, thank you.
I guess building on that question, thank you also to everyone who was on the math committee that helped do this. Here we talk about special education a lot, so the UDL component of this is something that I'm particularly interested in. Can you talk a little bit more about how that's incorporated into here? And I think it builds off of, not quite the rigor piece, but how are we universally designing the learning experience for all of the students?
Yes, one of the things in the slides showed the progression and it had like the minutes set out. And I didn't call attention to this, but I should have. It always follows the same progression from TK all the way to 5. So it's a predictable sequence of learning for the students, but of course it's different from grade to grade, right? But the sequence is the same. It's, help me remember, teach, launch, teach, land, learn, thank you. It's in one of those, I'm sorry, help me. Fluency? Launch, learn, land, got it. Okay. So fluency, launch, learn, land. So yes, we should have gone over that, right? So it is a predictable thing for students, right? So we know that that is a good thing for students to know and understand routines in the classroom, right? And then we have entry points for different learners. So whether that's hands-on or number talks or which doesn't belong, there are all these routines to engage the students prior to diving into the work. And then once the work is going, the teachers were afforded more opportunities to get into those small groups because they had done these tasks beforehand. So it was easier to pull small groups because the students had workbooks and items to work on, and they were pulling groups. And then from there, they had the land piece is the exit ticket that they were able to see who's getting it, who's not getting it, right? So there's different access points for all of our learners. And we felt like that was a strong component of Eureka Math Squared.
So just, yeah, go ahead. No,
Okay. So as you know, math has been an epidemic problem nationally. It's been we've had this challenge too. This is our number one priority. It's one of the reasons we're grateful you're here. Thank you again to all of you. So as a parent, as a community member, what can we expect that's different about this program that's going to help address and move us forward in math? I know we've talked about some good things, but why is this exponentially better than what we're doing now?
Yes,
Tough
well,
question.
I've actually thought about this from the parent perspective because my daughter will be attending schools here and I want to make sure we get this right? We're fully invested here. I think what you're going to see is communication across school sites, which it was so apparent that was really needed and wanted. So they were collaborating across school sites during this pilot. So we're going to see that. So there's going to be so much more consistency across the board. And we're going to use CGI in a way that I think is a little bit more consistent, or I don't know if rigorous is the right word, but we are going to use the same materials and use the lens of CGI to implement these materials instead of teams looking for, like what problem could we do that would really push thinking? There's a great plethora of problems already there to push students thinking. So I think you're going to see more consistency, and then the student practice is consistent from the class to the home with the parent support. And I think that's going to be huge because as our classroom teachers know, parents do their very best to help, but once, once they are not sure what to do, they usually go back to what they have learned before. And sometimes that has caused confusion for students. But I think now that the parent piece is there, we're gonna be such a unified front for our students between home and school.
So, I have a question along those lines, and it kind of builds on Neil's last question, and I think the comments that Roger and Rebecca brought up with regards to math. Obviously, consistency is a differentiator. I think the rigor is the other differentiator that I've heard from the team. So knowing that, it seems like a critical piece is that exit ticket and that rigorous assessment that I saw on the slide, right? And that's gonna be a critical piece that, like, I think you mentioned, Holly, has to be done at each of the end of the lesson. So, and obviously win becomes a big factor of that. So are the parents also gonna, now that the parent component, are the parents also gonna know where their students are at the end of each lesson? Is that gonna be in terms of the assessment of each student?
Just a clarifying question, do you mean the concepts that they're working on or how they're doing?
How they're doing, because it seems like if we're building up the rigor and ramping it up, it's gonna be critical in terms of the exit and the assessment that takes place at the end of each lesson.
So the exit ticket is more of a formative assessment, and a formative assessment is what we use in the classroom to drive our instruction. So that's more for like the teachers viewing. They won't be grading it and sending it home. At least that's my guess on how it's going to be used. Teachers need student work to refer to and look back on as they're in these small groups. So it's likely going to be kept in the classroom. I don't want to speak for the teachers and say that's absolutely how it's going to be, but that is my guess on how it will be. However, there are these topic quizzes. So in Eureka Math Squared, and this is very unique to this program, they have topics. So topic A, B, C, and D each have their own smaller quiz. Those will be sent home for parents to view, and it's every few lessons. So it's the parents will be in the loop more as to what is happening. And then at the end of the unit, there's a bigger module assessment. And that's, the whole topics A through D covered in the module assessment.
Well, I just want to thank you, Holly, and the entire team. I also had the opportunity to attend the math family night, and I saw the excitement of the kids. So I'm looking forward to this and the launch of this. I don't want to get carried away and I want to get in trouble.
Coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I?
Oh, Michelle.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, teachers. I really, really do appreciate this. I know how much work goes into piloting a program, and so the work that you did is very valuable. I just wanted to say that what I see from this program is a lot of that professionalism that gets put back into these lessons. Like teachers will be given the agency and the encouragement to really take control of this instruction. And I think with that, you get excited and you become, it's still very student-centered, but then you also become very empowered in that as well. And I think what children really need to see in mathematics, especially our young girls, is adults around them, especially in elementary school, predominantly women, not saying, I can't do this, and seeing the confidence that their teachers have with this math. And I think that that's really, really what we need to build with our students, is to be able to see examples of people really enjoying themselves and really being able to just dig in and have fun with this. So thank you for everything that you've done. And I'm really, really excited to see what happens, especially with the consistency that we're gonna have from TK through 5. That's really what's exciting for me to see. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this takes us to the public hearing. Item 5.1, public hearing, public hearing regarding TK5 and mathematics for the TK5 mathematics resource adoption, mathematics update. And this is for the God, why am I drawing a blank on the Eureka Square? Jeez. And we're gonna open it at 6:34 p.m. and we're gonna have to wait, right, Blake, for a long minute or? All right, let's open it at, I think I saw it was 6:33. Let's open it at 6:33 and we close at 6:34. But I guess, are there any comments or questions, first of all, before I close it? Any comments or questions?
We have one card. Was that about the math adoption? Was that Sarah?
It's not, it is not, it's not, I don't think it's a not.
Since you may need it, but how about a round of applause?
Okay, so can we close it at 6:34, Wendy?
Yes.
Notice if Wendy says it's okay, then it's official.
Right. Right, from the public, items, non-agenda items, and Sarah Nichols, and I saw Robert, but I didn't see Sarah. I was wondering where you were at.
Costume
Blended blended in with the team. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Tonight, I just wanted to take a moment to honor someone whose dedication and leadership have shaped our community in many ways. I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Eileen Harbeck for many years, many very close years during the pandemic. She always puts the needs of students first and holds everyone to very high expectations. Eileen's journey with Wiseburn has spanned over 2 decades, during which she has worn many, many hats, from teacher to assistant superintendent. At every step, she's exemplified excellence and a tireless commitment to our students' success. As Eileen embarks upon her well-deserved retirement, I'd like to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your unwavering dedication. We wish you nothing but joy, fulfillment, and lots of adventures, especially in golf. Congratulations.
Thank you. Right. More presentations to come, right, Blake?
3 or 4 more here.
You wanna go ahead?
Should I just jump in?
Yeah, you can jump in.
So next presentation, really is, it's a couple things. The board had asked us at the last board meeting, bye. Thank you. Yeah, have a good one. The board had asked for us to come back and share a little bit more about the scope, and impact of, the potential baseball fields, that may be built at Del Air. So trying to check off some of the requests of the board in terms of, feedback, providing you more information on items, and this is one of them. I'll have some more follow-up too as well, during my comments. 2 things. One is facilities and facility space and impact, and the other is going to be financial report on SLC and Futures, just noting that they're both separate programs. Futures is our special education program for 18 to 22, and then the other is our Futures is that, and SLC is our kind of non-public school consortium option.
But they're housed adjacent to each other.
Correct, the same building, basically. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My presentation will be very short.
Ah.
Well, I promise. Unless you guys ask a lot of questions. You guys are terrible. I'm done. So that's the slide from the last board meeting. Just as a reminder, this is the SLC/Futures relocation location. As you can see, the next slide is the facilities master plan for the Del Air fields. This was brought up at the last meeting, that there was a concern that if we were to relocate the SLC Futures program here, what would be the outcome of the field project? We have since asked, I went back, asked PBK, our architect for this project, to do an overlay of the area to see how it would impact and if potentially these 2 programs could cohabitate.
Go ahead.
I just did it once. Maybe I didn't do it right.
Maybe one more time.
Who's got a computer?
I think you have to aim it.
Just aim it.
Pointing it the wrong way.
Aim at the computer.
Are you able to move forward?
Thank you. So here you can see we have both. We have the SLC/Futures program. You see the modifications to the parking lot as well as the two fields. And the facilities master plan shows 5 basketball courts. In this particular scenario, we are showing only 3. But you can see that if the direction, and hopefully the direction is to continue with proceeding with the relocation of the SLC program to this location, the future field project at Del Air could potentially move forward. And as you know, this would be probably a Series D, which is one of the last bond issuances for the facilities master plan.
That, are both of those fields, CIF approved
Yes.
fields?
Mhm.
So one, the bottom one obviously being the baseball field and the top being like a softball, right?
Correct. So basically what was called out in the facilities master plan. With the, like I said, the only exception is rather than 5 basketball courts, you're getting 3.
And I see what looks like maybe portable buildings or something, to the west of the tennis courts, where the baseball field overlaps. Is that go away eventually, or what is that, in that area? Do you know?
The red, sort of red.
It's 3.
No, the ones right below the basketball courts,
Yeah.
you can see right immediately adjacent parallel to the, right there.
Yeah, all those things,
Right.
to the, yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
To the west.
They're
What are those?
bungalows.
Those are the former county portables that are no longer there.
Oh.
The ones
That's
to the
it.
west.
Okay, okay, perfect.
Yes.
So really, so,
So those have all been removed.
okay,
Not there.
No, right now, Dimension Connect, I believe, for the field, I'm not sure what group is using that area as, storage for, they have batting cages, they have baseball equipment. And it's primarily just dirt and stuff.
and I mean, just to confirm, we do not currently have any basketball courts at that location. So
Correct.
we would still, there should still be an improvement, we would still.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just trying to understand the dark blue. I was just trying to understand the dark blue dotted line around it. Is that just to call out the project or is it
That's just-
fencing?
Shows, the first phase, which would be the SLC Futures relocation. But really the light, aquamarine, I guess, dash line is the footprint of the SLC Futures. Everything else basically just shows, the parking lot because we are gonna have to do some modifications to the parking lot. So
Right.
you can see, let me see if this will work. I don't wanna run back and forth. Right there is the playground, right? That's the pre-K, preschool, I'm sorry, the preschool playground. We are going to modify the parking spaces there, eliminate those to avoid any cars backing up. In addition to that, we'll be installing bollards all around, the perimeter of the fencing, just to further protect the playground.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about the softball field encroachment on the park.
Oh, no, that's not fencing, that's nothing. It's just to
Okay.
highlight the,
Okay.
the for phase 1.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And Noemi, I'm not sure if you know, but when I'm looking at the baseball field, are we talking like, is that 330 down the line in terms of feet, do you know, or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, we just did
I
a
didn't see
quick
it.
overlay based on the information that we were able to pull from the facilities master plan to see how much of it we could actually fit. Remember, we don't have, this is a project much later,
Right.
down the road, so we don't even have an architect.
I mean, this is great news that we can actually accommodate,
Both.
a baseball field, both in this case.
Right.
I think, the one other thing that I remember from the original facilities master plan was some sort of restroom accessibility issue, so I'm just curious about that in this.
There's definitely space. I can go back to that other side where you can see.
They were
Oh, and it's
part-
4 basketball courts, not 5.
You see where it is though, right?
Yeah.
The restaurant.
The restrooms were those 2 orange, right below the 2 orange pieces in there, between the 2 buildings.
The orange,
No, below that,
The grid.
that gray box that's inside the blue fence.
yes.
Yeah. I think those were new restrooms, right?
Well, those technically, the way this is, shown, those restrooms are part of Da Vinci Connect. So the areas that are in the faded color is areas not in scope of work, meaning not being touched.
That's a good point, because I did think that in the original master plan that it was almost like there was a storage, container of some sort, not a container, storage area, as well as some restrooms, like a kind of clubhouse.
And all of that can be achieved. Once we start the design for it, there is some space.
Think of space.
We definitely have the space. Right now, we just did, again, a very quick overlay, because the concern was the playfields. Can we fit those? We have some flexibility with the number of basketball courts.
I think that it's just using those, we use those spaces right now for softball and little league practice, and there's no access to restrooms right now. So I just want to make sure that we
Well, the
are
beauty of
planning for
relocating,
that.
right, the beauty of relocating the SLC to that location, as you can see, we're gonna be running utilities for the restrooms, so they're getting even closer to the area that we need them. So you'll have water, sewer, and obviously power.
We're talking about like with the high school team,
Right.
so like it's not like a locker facility, but somewhere for those kids to
Right.
change and things like that.
You have to have a clubhouse facility of some sort, you have to have restrooms, you can't host a high school baseball game, or, I mean, you shouldn't host any type of baseball game.
Hold it in.
Yeah, just walk down the road. So we have to do that, we'll have to incorporate that, and maybe, I know that the last meeting, you know, Roger had mentioned taking a little, I'm sorry, I think it was Roger mentioned taking a look at the county lease, I think Neil had also mentioned that, so it could be something that in a lease, you know, you see 4 tennis courts there, that could be 4 basketball, I mean, there's other things that we can,
Well,
you know, consider,
the gymnasium too, that's.
Correct. right?
This is-
So,
This whole complex lends itself to a sports complex,
Right.
where 2026, this could revert back to our use.
Right,
So
good
it's
space.
very, I guess, in line with what we're talking about, Dr. Silvers, is the setup of the 7-Eleven committee.
Yeah.
Because we do want to do that before, so we have options for the future.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna comment on that in my,
Okay.
my report.
There's also one other consideration and communication here is connect. Right, the communication is the usage of the fields and whatnot, so I think there's conversation we need to have there. I know we're talking Series D, which is many years away,
Right.
but just wanted to plant that seed that we're talking about changing their field structure for them,
Did you say B or D?
D.
right?
Yeah. Say,
Mhm.
maybe C plus.
So that,
Possible, the end result here is, the big picture is, this is possible.
and really the direction that I need, or is the decision that I need is the, either the go or the no-go for the SLC relocation. Because we're approaching summer, this will have to be a DSA project. It's very unlikely that I'll be able to get it done right away, because obviously we have to recertify those portable septic locations that we're trying to push for it. To hopefully do it over, late summer, maybe August, like,
Yeah, no, I was thinking, yeah, I mean, okay. I'll take it, yeah, we get direction to, we don't even need to agendize it, we just need the thumbs up, I'm having
Right.
it here.
Consensus of the
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
that works.
Makes
I think we had that at the last meeting, it was more of a matter of bringing back some of the options
Right.
and really taking a look.
At our last meeting, we were questioning if we we're gonna have to move it twice
Correct.
due to space. We learned once, fantastic.
This is great, this is the best news.
thank you.
Thanks, Noemi.
See, short and sweet.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jason.
Good evening.
Okay, we had a question last board meeting to bring back the budget analysis. So what I did here is try to get this.
It's laggy, just.
Oh, okay.
So, charge clicker.
Yes. Okay, SLC. So if you want to follow, let me see if I have a lag. I'm gonna go to the first arrow. So I set this up much more like our comparison analysis we do for our other budgets that you've seen when I do it for first and second interim, so it's more familiar. But this is for the Student Learning Center. Remember, the Student Learning Center is for students that are in high school, and I think they go down to 7th grade, but we get placed, right now we have 7 students, actually 10 students in that program, and we have 3 Wiseburn Unified students. Let's see. Is there an animation that's happening?
You said it's three?
3 of our students.
And
Okay,
a
so there's,
total of 7?
oh, okay, so, okay. So what I want you to focus on this is that 23-24 projected contribution. You'll see a budget adoption. We were right around, oh, sorry, it's one forward, the thing's there.
We have a magnifying glass.
I know.
Jason, just for clarity, forgive me, these numbers don't seem to match what's in our board packet.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a 570 number for 23-24 total, not, is that what that is?
Yeah, that is, sorry. It was on, I was on futures because this thing was clicking.
Oh, okay.
My bad. So if you see 23-24 projected contribution, you see that, and it says for SLC, we were at budget adoption at 112,000. And then as we go into first interim, second interim, you'll see the difference. We've gone up by the contribution by about 50,000. But remember, contribution, I keep saying this, we're pulling from general fund, unrestricted to pay for something that's restricted because they can't ever go negative. So that's essentially how we pay for our students. So SLC, you know, with those outside students, they're paying that 45,000 per year. The other thing I'll point out there is that 23-24 projected revenues. You'll see budget adoption is that 450,000. And first interim, you see it drop to 225. But that's because we do 2 checks, one in the beginning and one at the end. We haven't received them yet, we will. But
Can you just, I just want to clarify the fact that what he said was the restricted resource can't go below 0. So if we have a program that's restricted, out of restricted funding, that's more expensive than what a restricted,
We're gonna pull from, we have to.
because it has to 0 out.
Yeah.
exactly. So just keep that in mind. The cost of the program, we have control over it. I'll just keep saying that'll be a theme for this one and the other one. If we were to send these students or place them in an NPS of some type, for example, I know some of those costs half year, we're looking at 46,000 just for half, upwards to 100,000 for one placement. So just keep that in mind with 3 of our own students. If they were at 100,000, you know, right now we're contributing, we're looking at right now 160 right there around there. So if we go to any more questions about SLC, I want to stop there and make sure. Okay. So if we go to futures, and then now remember, for futures, all of our students are our students in this program. So we have 7 of those students in there that are, you know, roughly, if a student were to come to us from outside, we'd have that'd be about 50,000 a year, and they would pay us and we'd place them there as an adult transition program. So again, if you go to that 23-24 projected contribution line across, that's essentially what we're paying for our own students. And so, and again, it can change based on attendance and other things and cost of program. But essentially, as of second interim, we were looking at a contribution from our unrestricted general fund to pay for this of about $300,000. And so that's really the cost. We're paying our own tuition, if you will. But the rub here is that all of our students are they're all our students. The previous year, you see, we'd had to have projected revenues. And you'll see that where it says 156. We did have some outside students in the program. We weren't sure if we were going to get it. We had talks. Elsa got to open their own program. Well, then we got to first interim. We dropped that. Now, what I've done there is I put that it's around $86,000 because last time that was blank, and I know that threw some people off. We do get revenue for our students, roughly $11,300 for each student for ADA, and these are adult transition. We do get revenue. We get AB 602, which is our state funding, about $860, and then we get about $91 of federal funding for those spends. So that is roughly about $86,000 for the students who are there, but you know that's far less than what the program is going to cost. If you look at that contribution again, that $300,000. It looks like when I say total, we are contributing our own money, and yes, we're making above that. But again, we're contributing, we're paying for our own tuition here. This program, again, back to the theme I said before, if we were to place these students, 7 students at minimum, I would say 80 upwards to 100,000, possibly more. This would cost us a lot more. We do have control over this expenditure. The one thing that I want to point out, if we were to go back, let me stop there for futures. Is there any questions about it?
So, make sure I understand this, Jason, that we contributed, our budget amount for this futures program is $271. We contributed $29,000 from the general fund because we can't zero it out, right? Is that correct?
No, that's the change, and I'm just showing you the difference. If you go to the number before that, there's a $300,000.
We're contributing.
That's what as a second interim, that's what we're projected to contribute from our unrestricted general fund to pay for this program.
300, so.
300,000.
I misunderstood that because, so we're contributing $300,000.
Yes, we're projected by the end of the year, that's what we're projected to contribute.
So SLC is a partner program.
Mhm.
Futures is our own program.
Exactly.
Is it possible to be partnering with other districts? Is that even viable to bring them into the Futures program?
Yes,
Because this is a significant encroachment to general fund.
yes, I mean, we can definitely do that. We have space right now. If we have 7 students enrolled, we can go up to 12 in that program.
The issue is most districts have their own futures program
Yeah.
as well. So El Segundo, so in the past, you could see here, El Segundo actually used to send several students to us. And this year they started their own program. So they were one of the last round that didn't have their own program and now do. So a lot of our high school districts already, it's because it is a responsibility of the K-12 district to have that 18 to 22-year-old program. Unless you have an agreement with another district, send your kids, which we did with El Segundo at one point, but now they've started their own. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm wondering if we might want to have a conversation with El Segundo about partnering together for our mutual benefit.
I do know, and again, I'm not to get into all the weeds on this, but I do know for a fact they just built their own facility. They use, I think, bond dollars. I should not misspeak on that, but I know they built their own facility for their 18 to 22-year-old program, which is why they took it back. So I think the conversation will more be around, we send our kids to them and have an agreement with them, but anyway. So I think that would be the difference, because they actually planned for this.
As are we.
So Jason, looking at the SLC. The SLC, what we're contributing is 163,000 to that program?
Correct. And that's really the tuition we're paying for our own students to be there.
Yeah, because first, I misunderstood when you presented here, I thought you mentioned that it was a $50,000 contribution, but it's actually 160.
That's the change. So our contribution actually went up from where we started, but from budget adoption to second interim. But right now, we're projected to spend 163,000 out of unrestricted general fund to pay for our students that are in that program.
Jason, we're still, sorry.
Is that a more, so is SLC a more expensive program than?
No. It's LSLC is 40, let me see here, it's 45,000. Almost.
So we're, between these two programs, encroaching or using unrestricted funds to the tune of $465,000, $500,000.
Yep.
What creative solution can we look at to minimize that? Because that's a significant chunk of money.
Sorry, before you answer that, I just want to make sure I understand. On the projected revenue for SLC, we're still waiting for the other half,
Exactly.
right? So we're still waiting for 225,000 to
That
come
will
in.
reduce that.
But regardless, yes, it could correlate and reduce some of that as well. We just don't have those in now, but
Still $250,000 plus.
yes, that 450, we'll get the other half.
Jason,
225,000.
what am I misunderstanding here? If I look at the program, 163,000 for 3 students,
Yes.
but in futures, it's 300,000 for 7 students.
Yeah, so it's contingent upon, how many students are in the program and what the cost is. We do have, we're now on SLC. Can we go, sorry, good futures. So, yeah, and also we have our beginning balance. We also have, if we're looking at that projected revenue, but 300,000 for 7 students, that's what we're, again, it's not a dollar for dollar just because it costs that 50,000. That's what we charge districts. That can fluctuate as the budget and costs fluctuate as well. Based on the numbers we have right now, we're projected to spend 300,000 on the 7 students that are in that program, which is good. I mean, it's not dollar for dollar. We're saving some money there.
It's still about $45,000 a student,
Yes.
regardless of whether it's SLC or futures.
Hey, are we, well, we try.
No, I'm sure. I'm sorry, I don't mean to have I was saying, we're seeing continued growth regionally in special needs. I would expect, based on that, we'd see growth in SLC need and utilization. Obviously, we want to be of service to our students without sending them to a non-public school. However, these numbers are just bewildering to me, that those are going up so much, and yet we seem to have dwindling numbers here, and I'm not understanding the math.
I hear you. I don't know about the math. I mean, I do a little bit. He's the expert on
Yeah, we
math.
used to, the last couple of years, we've had teens numbers of participants.
Understood, and we do need to grow the program. In general, I mean, yes, absolutely.
We do need to grow it, is that what you said?
I mean, we can go up to 12 and we actually have referrals. So the data that we're showing you right now is, changing constantly. So right now we have another district student, so now this is 4 that just started, and we have referrals from other districts. So I think we may go up to 12 by the end of the school year.
Don't want to put a damper.
I know.
Just because we go to 12, if we have our own students in it, we have to pay for our own students to be in the program to sign out supply. So just keep that in mind.
There's one financial analysis that's not here that I think is very relevant for us to consider, is the cost of not doing this program, which would be transporting these students to another place, which would, with 6 or 7 students at $100K per student, potentially
Exactly.
exceed this number. I'm giving
No, you're
generic
absolutely right.
numbers that are probably in the ballpark, but
And if the 3 or 4 students that we have at SLC were to go to a non-public school, our cost would be double because usually the program's more expensive at non-public school.
yeah, that's what yeah. in
And
general.
actually, I would highly recommend we keep this program in its current state, especially with the current move that we're doing. SLC will reduce about $23,000 a year in those operational costs because we're buying the bathroom, right? Simple. It's not gonna be a huge reduction, but some reduction. But also if we do grow it, I mean, it does offset some costs, but at the end of the day, if we have 10 kids,
We're paying $50,000
exactly.
and receiving under 12.
And it's something we know, we can control, we can plan for versus sending them to an NPS, getting a place where they can change it can change yearly.
When we know it's more expensive.
Yes, a little much more expensive.
I do like the recommendation that Dr. Goldman brought up about looking to see if we can partner with another district so that we can increase our placements here so that we run the program at capacity. Because even though we still have our fixed costs for our students that we're serving, the overhead costs by a contribution from a different district still helps offset the overall operating cost. Is that correct?
It
With
is.
all of this,
True.
because I'm looking at the soft cost.
One
of the
teacher,
model,
yeah.
the salaries, classified, the overall cost of the program technically does come down.
Yeah.
Because it's split up and divided amongst multiple.
So you see gain in another place.
Correct.
I would say, Rod, that's a very good point. I wanted to share, and I'm gonna put it out there publicly, but I'm just gonna be careful with details that we are looking at some options for expansion. And it's gonna be expansion towards elementary school, looking at some options to bring, it's a big need in the South Bay right now with the SELPA. We're just seeing it. I mean, there's 4 students across, at least from conversations I've had, about 4 students across the SELPA. The issue that we're facing is, we need to find curriculum and we need to make sure that we can offer a day that's, a good school day for an elementary student. We're middle high school, 7th, 8th grade. Every once in a while, we'll push that down a little bit. So we are looking at some options, to bring those numbers up. It is gonna push the program down to an elementary.
I think the reason we're having this conversation is to try and get this program to a net neutral. Because any money that we live in a finite financial environment, any money we're taking away from our general fund is less money we have for every student. So the extent we can, if it's build the program, find ways to make this at least revenue neutral or cost neutral, is a win. So we wanted to just get this on your radar, everybody's radar, to get us to that point.
Can I ask one, Jason, I'm just so I best understand this, I wanna make sure the board has the right information. Looking at that first chart on budget SLC. You mentioned those $225,000 that we have not received yet.
Yep.
Now, it's my understanding that we budgeted for that, so that's not, I just wanna make sure the board, I think, was under the impression that once we get that, it's gonna bring that contribution down. It's really not.
Not
At
not
all.
entirely.
Not at all, right?
163,
No.
yes.
I mean, no, other things will affect that contribution. I mean, we'll have to see where we land and, it could be less. But there's so many other factors that will play into that. So, but will it be a direct causal? No.
The challenge is to bring these numbers down, guys. That's
Yep.
the challenge. Provide good value, good education for our students at minimum cost.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's on again.
All right. So the purpose of this program is to provide structure and a method for our educators and our educational partners to implement and fulfill our assurances related to student wellness and safety. And so this includes providing a safe learning environment for students, highlighting students' strengths and their needs, really ensuring that students feel like they're an important member of our community, and engaging families and other community members in promoting optimal learning environment for our students. The method that we used for the selection process was really heavily impacted by our core team. They really took the lead in this. Our core team was another acronym for, stands for Community of Respect and Empathy. And our core team is made up of teachers from each site who are interested in being leaders in promoting healthy culture and climate on our campuses, promoting positive behaviors, improving our attendance practices, and then also promoting student wellness and safety. That's okay. So with that, the core team members meet at the site level, and we also meet at the district level. So at the district core meetings, we talk about systems that we want to see across all of our sites, and then they take those systems and those structures and meet at the site level, and really kind of personalize those systems and structures to the practices at their sites. So for the program, the first step that we took was identifying criteria to use to assess different programs. And that criteria was made up of two different categories. One being components of a program. So does the program include a student curriculum? Are there practices associated with this program or curriculum that teachers could use to implement? And is there a family component? The other category that the criteria focused on was outcomes. So are the programs that we're looking at associated with research that says when this program is implemented, we see differences or changes in social emotional learning, social skills, behavior, diversity, equity, and inclusion, attendance, and academic achievement and engagement. So after identifying the criteria, the next step was to integrate this criteria with 6 programs that we focused on as a start. And so there's a spreadsheet with tons of information, hyperlinks, right, that outlined this criteria and how that criteria relates to the details of these programs. And through that step, the team was able to eliminate 2 of our programs that were on our list. One of which, the second step, which we're implementing now, they just didn't feel like it had that scope, the comprehensive piece that we were looking for moving forward. So of the 4 remaining programs, 2 of them really were strong in terms of student curriculum, and 2 of them were more comprehensive. So they had student curriculum and also had a strong practice that teachers would be able to learn and implement from day to day. Those 4 programs, we asked presenters to present virtually, and so we had those 4 presentations, and from those presentations, the core team was just very clear that what they feel like our district needs is that those comprehensive programs. So it was narrowed down to the 2 programs that had the student curriculum, the strong student curriculum piece, and the strong piece in terms of practices. The core team members from the middle school unanimously decided that they wanted Capturing Kids' Hearts. They really liked it. They felt very strongly about it. The elementary core team members, on the other hand, wanted to invite the elementary school teachers into the conversation at this point. And so we arranged for the 2 remaining programs to present to our teachers at one of the staff meetings. And then the teachers were able to provide feedback at that point, in which the Capturing Kids' Hearts was the majority choice for the teachers by 58%. So just barely there. So that's how we came to selecting Capturing Kids' Hearts through that process. And so next, I will talk with you a little bit about what Capturing Kids' Hearts is, what it consists of, the philosophy behind it. We'll talk a little bit about the curriculum and what that looks like, and also outcomes associated with Capturing Kids' Hearts. So as I mentioned, Capturing Kids' Hearts includes a student curriculum and also teacher practices. What is that? What are teacher practices, right? So when we think about a curriculum, we think about a plan, like a learning plan, right? So that there's specific things written, we know what kids are going to learn, we teach it to them. The practices refer to the how. How do we implement that curriculum? How do we talk to kids? How do we interact with each other? And how can we make sure that the language that we're using is universal across the board? So an aligned set of practices allows us to be intentional when we're working with students, teachers, families, right? A set of practices allows us to have common language so that when we respond to students, they know what to expect regardless of what classroom they're in, what adult they're with at the moment, and even what school they're in, right, if we're doing this district-wide. And so there's consistency there and understanding. And this was something that was very important to our core team, is that we're talking about creating a healthy culture and climate. We're talking about improving behaviors. We're talking about improving attendance by motivating students to be at school and wanting to be at school. That consistency is important, and that guidance in how we talk to our kids, whether we are instructing them or helping them learn from a poor choice or an unexpected choice, it's important to be consistent in those practices. All right, so the curriculum and set of practices from Capturing Kids' Hearts is based on this philosophy. If you have a child's heart, you have a child's mind. And this philosophy underscores the importance of building trust with students and fostering that emotional connection, which we know enhances learning, it enhances engagement, and enhances overall well-being. So the CKH process, it helps reduce anxiety in classrooms, but it also promotes a culture where teachers and students want to be at school and in their classrooms. We know that Capturing Kids' Hearts is research-based. It provides tools for overcoming conflicts and building trust. And it also provides a set of measures where we'd be able to track our progress and our outcomes. And so to ensure fidelity, we would make sure that we participate in training. We would partner with Capturing Kids' Hearts team members so that we're supported. We have consultations with them. There are opportunities for site visits. And then, of course, we would make sure that we are implementing the curriculum and the practices with fidelity as well. So here's a brief video that gives a glimpse into a school that has been implementing Capturing Kids' Hearts.
When I see Miss Lee in the morning, she makes me feel cared for and loved.
It's amazing because she just lights up my day.
So do you think Miss Lee loves you?
Of course.
Now more than ever, students and teachers need a strong campus culture to truly flourish. Classrooms need to nurture a growth mindset where classmates support each other, and this starts with connections and positive relationships.
Capturing Kids' Hearts has just made a tremendous difference in our district, not only academically, but also with our culture. You know, our kids want to be here, and so attendance is up. Our discipline is down at various campuses, and I guarantee you Capturing Kids' Hearts plays a huge role in that.
I think it's important that our teachers care for us as a person, not just like the work I do and my grades, because if maybe we're getting really bad grades, it might be because we're having problems with friends or at our house.
Capturing Kids' Hearts is truly the foundation of our campus. It helps build those relationships where teachers want to stay. It's our biggest recruitment tool. A kid's not going to learn from somebody they don't like. And that's the end of the story. So knowing truly that class and having those connections with the kids takes you from being a good teacher to a great teacher.
Schools are reporting amazing results after implementing Capturing Kids' Hearts, like MacArthur Junior High, who's returning 95% of their amazing educators this school year, or East Ridge Elementary, whose school discipline referrals decreased 67% over last year. Capturing Kids' Hearts founder, Flip Flippin, famously said, "If you have a child's heart, you have a child's mind." And it's our honor to walk alongside schools nationwide as they capture their students' hearts and minds on campus.
Okay. So a little kind of feel good video. I think it highlights some of the conversations that were held in the core team meetings, and also some of the feedback we received from teachers, and that just kind of looking at the needs of our students and our schools. A lot of the teachers acknowledged that yes, we want to see changes in the behaviors of our students, but in order for that to happen, there have to be changes among the adults' behaviors as well, and the dynamic between the students and the teachers, and also the dynamic just on campus in general, even among adults. And so that was one of the pieces, or a couple of the components, why folks were in favor of Capturing Kids' Hearts, because they felt like it would help us do those things. And so with that, the next slide highlights some of the outcomes. Oh, sorry. This next, thanks. This slide highlights some of the outcomes that Capturing Kids' Hearts has found in some of their research. Particularly, they did a research study in a district that had 50 schools. Most of them were elementary schools, 36 were elementary, 10 were middle schools, but they found that a lot of the outcomes that we're looking for were outcomes that they saw in the schools once they implemented. So increased student achievement, decreased discipline referrals, increased attendance rates, and they also found an increase in graduation rates and teacher satisfaction as well. Tell Me Something Good is one of those practices that we were talking about, right? We can put music to it. But Tell Me Something Good is an activity that teachers are encouraged to start off with, or even administrators, when you're starting a meeting, when you're starting class in the morning or an activity, just taking a moment to pause and ask students or the group that you're with, how are you? What's something you want to celebrate? We want to celebrate with you. We want to be able to connect with you, and that's a part of building those relationships. And so something good that Capturing Kids' Hearts wanted to share with us were these numbers up here, and just really kind of illustrate how well Capturing Kids' Hearts is working with so many schools and so many students.
So that's it, well, if we're saying this would be sort of an essential practice of capturing kids' hearts, or students would come in the morning, that would be part of a morning meeting or some sort of morning connection with students.
Right.
And administrators potentially, with students.
Right.
Go through it.
Exactly, it's very important. Mhm. Okay, so practices and curriculum, capturing kids' hearts as shared samples of their curriculum with us is copyright protected, and so they're not in these slides, but you have them in your packets. So first, it talks about the Excel model. This is an acronym. Each one of those letters represents an action or activity, one of those practices that teachers and folks on campus would do regularly, right, as Blake just mentioned and pointed out. So this acronym highlights meeting and greeting students. There's a letter that represents relating to know students, incorporating their interests into whatever you're doing. And so this could really touch on inclusive practices related to curriculum or even just in social interactions. And then unlike Eureka Square that starts with a launch with Capturing Kids' Hearts, they end with a launch, and that's the L in Excel. There's support that's offered. So there's an online platform that offers monthly tools and tips, consultation, and also the surveys that I mentioned earlier. The tools and tips is really important. This was another part of our conversation in the core team and feedback from teachers that they want a curriculum that's comprehensive, that offers enough freedom for them to have conversations with their students and make it their own. And then also teachers on the other end of the spectrum who wanted something very specific and concrete that they can just follow. And so this kind of does both of those, and the online portal provides specific activities that teachers can do related to the Excel model, which is something that they were asking for as well. You have a slide on the Lead Worthy curriculum. So the curriculum, it's a character building curriculum. It's called Lead Worthy. The lessons, the scope of the Lead Worthy curriculum takes a character trait for each month of the school year, which is great for our core team and planning, right? Because there can be, like, the whole school can focus on that one character trait, even though the lessons that they're learning are different for each grade level and unique to their developmental, it's developmentally appropriate. So there's consistency, but then also uniqueness for the students. Each lesson uses the Excel model as an outline. So teachers will have that topic that they're focusing on, what the students should learn, but they'll have an activity for the E, they'll have something to do for the X, the C, and every letter. And so there's consistency there, which is something else that the core team and the teachers were really wanting.
Question, I'm trying to making sure I understand this. So the curriculum that will be used is a framework that teachers will use on how to deliver their actual lesson plans. Is that correct? Because we have certain instructional minutes that we have to hit for whether it's math or for English or the different topics. Are we teaching the students curriculum of, say, for example, integrity, or are our teachers going to incorporate values and integrity in their lesson plans? I don't understand.
There's an opportunity for both. So there are specific lessons with Capturing Kids' Hearts. It takes about 20 minutes a week. So we would ask teachers to set aside that 20 minutes a week to teach on on empathy or whatever the respect or whatever the lesson is for that week. And in addition to that, the curriculum coupled with the practices and these Excel strategies provide teachers with opportunities to expand beyond that 20 minutes a week and pull those practices into their regular instructional practices. Let's see. Okay, so another advantage of the curriculum and how it's connected. I mentioned that empathy is an example of one of the lessons that's included in the curriculum.
And the lesson not only incorporate the Excel model, but link back to the practices, the other practices that teachers are encouraged to do. So for example, teachers are asked to create a contract, a class contract, right? And it's not just students, this is what I expect from you. It's more dynamic. So it's what do we expect from student to student? What do we expect from student to teacher? What do we expect from teacher to student? And what do we expect in terms of how we treat our environment and our classroom? Which is something that those 4 components is something that would be new to a lot of our teachers and I think appreciated by a lot of our students. But the curriculum then loops back to that social contract. And so, for example, says, okay, today we're focusing on empathy and specifically how we can practice empathy using our social contract. And it walks the teacher through how to facilitate that conversation with the students. So everything's kind of connected. Right. Okay, so if we were to implement this, there would be 2 training days for certificated staff at the start of the year. And we would also have an opportunity to train teacher leaders. So our core team, including our GC members would be a possibility. And this training is specifically for leaders. So they do like the analysis of what type of leader you are, what are your strengths, what are your areas of growth, and how can you use those strengths to support other teachers? How can you build on the areas of growth? This training, Capturing Kids Hearts also offers a specific training for classified staff, which is a half day. So early in the year, we would want to make sure that we implement that training as well. If necessary, we could have a makeup training for the teachers or certificated staff who missed the initial training. But we put out a survey already to see who would be available and who was interested in attending a training that would be partially optional, like one of the days would be optional for them. They'd give up a day next summer. Right. And we have a lot of teachers who showed interest in that. The majority of them, I think we're at about 75%. We wanted that number to be around 80, and we think we might be able to get to that number given the feedback that we've gotten. So we probably wouldn't need that additional follow-up training. And then beyond that would be continued consultation, like I mentioned, with partners at Capturing Kids Hearts, and then the online resources as well.
Would the classified staff training be offered? Would that include folks that are like aides or, folks who are working in recess or that sort of thing? Okay.
Yes, which was another advantage that we've talked about, right? Because if there's specific language and practices in the classroom, this is how the teacher addresses discipline, right? Or even celebrations, then we would want to see that consistency on the playground.
But everyone would have to participate in this. And the 80% you're referring to, that's just before the school year starts? Or because I understood correctly, I mean, there's a different curriculum piece per month. So this is throughout the whole year. And the intent is to promote and change culture, right? So it's not really optional, right? In that this is the way teaching will be done.
Right.
So did I understand it's like an optional to get to 80% or we need 100%, right?
I mean, and that's something we can discuss. I think, we just got those survey numbers in, and so we have the option, or we've talked about a plan, if we wanted to have a makeup day or.
Yeah, I think the question's different. I think we're talking 2 different things. I think, so we have one day, there's a certain number of days we have a professional development for the school year. So this takes more days than what we have available. So we had to have one day that's an actual, a paid day that the district will pay teachers to come. We can't mandate that people come to that because it's
okay. I got it.
So I think, so we do have one day of training that's guaranteed, but in terms of like implementation, we'll figure out a way to make it so it's 100% implemented. So whether it's through a makeup day or other, right. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, and so here's a breakdown of costs of some of those items I just mentioned. So the BKH 1 training is a 2-day training for certificated staff. We would have 3 of those because they have a maximum number of student or of teachers per unit. Which also works out because we'd be able to separate people by grade level cohorts. So we have a K2 group, a 3 to 5 group, and a 6 to 8 group so that they could be able to focus on their grade levels. The leadership blueprint is that leadership training I was mentioning, 2 days with our core team, possibly GC members. The culture shapers is the classified training of half day. There's a traction visit, so that's when a representative of Capturing Kids Hearts comes to our sites and spends the day with the administrators, walking around and just kind of analyzing and troubleshooting, problem solving. Similar to the implementation visit where it's another visit and coaching is involved. And then the campus premium is the subscription to the online resource. So with that, I don't have a slide for it, but there's also opportunities to kind of scale this back every year. So we had talked to Capturing Kids Hearts about a second year where, we have a follow-up training for new teachers, right? Or people who might need a refresher, the continued leadership training, and then like a third year where there's even kind of less, you can scale back even more, but just to make sure that we're keeping the momentum going and again, aligned with the practices of fidelity.
So Monique, the first year is about 200K. I mean, it's 145 here, but it could be, let's call it up to 200K. And year 2, just so that the board has an idea what that 2 and 3 would look like, it's about 50 each year.
Bottom line, we're talking about a cultural evolution, creating a environment of belonging. The kids want to come to school, teachers ideally want to teach, we're having better classroom engagement. Ideally, we raise ADA by 1%, it pays for itself, everybody's happy, go team.
I have one other question. So I heard I heard the teachers and the staff and the students. What is the parent engagement, or is there a component to the community engagement with the?
So Capturing Kids Hearts has newsletters that go out to parents that align with the curriculum. So they keep pace with the curriculum, and then we have communication that goes out to families related to what their students are learning in that moment. In terms of measurement and metrics, there's a teacher survey, there's a student survey, but also a parent survey that asks the parent how they think their child is experiencing the Excel model and different practices and components of Capturing Kids Hearts at school.
And I know one of our LCAP elements is parental community involvement. I can see this being a training day or involvement for the community as well.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, why don't you go
I'll
ahead
do the
and
intro.
introduce them.
Thanks for your patience, gentlemen.
All right,
Alicia.
as we discussed at our last board meeting, and for the request of the board, we do have a presentation from the AFLAC team here today to discuss kind of the concerns they have and also, more importantly, resolutions to the ongoing concerns. So I'd like to welcome huge team from AFLAC. We've got Jason Hammer, David Hernandez, Chris Ashton, and Chad Decker. So I'm not sure which one of them are coming up, but they're all here.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us back. I know it's been a trying time here with the implementation of this, and I know when we had originally talked back at the last board meeting, we addressed this. We were all headed in the right direction. Ship was going smoothly, and unfortunately, along the way, we found the rudder broke off, and we hit some rough waves. So, in the interest of that, we've been working diligently behind the scenes with Nisha Sullivan team here, along with our VP, which we brought in on the dental side of it, to really engage and try to fix some of the internal issues. A lot of it actually came down to more of a communication, I guess we call communication lapse on some aspects of it, and some of it's from an internal technology standpoint, which I'm gonna let Chad dig into a little bit further. But more importantly, I know when I came in front of this board the last time, I promised I would do everything I could to make sure that we work through this, that we would be engaged throughout the entire process and we'd be here along the way. I want to apologize. I know we've had some headaches and we've had some rough stuff that's come up. I want to take ownership on that and just from the bottom of my heart, I never wanted to put you guys in that position from the get-go. So no, that's why we're still here. We're still fighting alongside of you guys because we didn't want to leave you hanging on something that we sold you intentionally. We didn't try to sell a bad bill of goods or anything like that, which is why we're hoping tonight some of the stuff will show the progress we've made, and we can talk about some more of the solutions we're working on going forward. Now I'll hand it over to Chad and we'll next slide.
Thank you, Jason. Just flew in from Indiana today, so it's good to be here.
Good late evening.
Is that?
Good late evening to you.
It's really, yeah. It's about an 18-hour day so far. All good. So I've been in dental insurance for 20+ years. My dad is a retired dentist, and I've been through 3 system conversions. This being my 3rd with Aflac. What a system conversion means how do you adjudicate your claims internally to then claim comes in, claim goes out, it's paid. And for some reason, the prior team at Aflac, a dental vision team they acquired, they failed in the process with the claim adjudication system. So we had an outdated system that we need to migrate over to a new system that happened last year in 2023. So any groups that were sitting on the platform like Wiseborn, all of a sudden we couldn't see the claims. And we didn't know about them. And then they start popping up as they're coming back to the dentist 6 months later for their checkup, right? And so word gets out, and so we're aware of the problems. And this has systematically been happening for across the country from 2023 business when we brought you guys on board. So that's really the root of the problem. Is the backbone is being fixed. But it's what I say about Aflac, and I'm not a career Aflac person, is they historically are known and prided on paying claims accurately and timely. And the dental vision has failed you guys on it, but we have course of action to make that better right away. And I'd also say part of it was education for the dental offices here, as just, hey, we're in the dental vision business. This is Aflac. We have some old supplemental plan that they're used to that paid a certain amount up to whatever. So it was new to them, and so we re-educated here locally your providers. So if I break it down, I go straight to what have we done about your claims, and what have we done about your network, provider outreach. So here the stats are all your claims that we know through the system are paid. So your 2023 claims, we had a backlog of basically 99 claims. We found out through the process, talking to all your providers, getting to the claim with the member, where those claims are at, and getting them paid, and practically sent those out. Sometimes we were FedExing those payments to the dental offices. So we identified every claim we paid throughout April the 10th, except for 3 ortho treatments, which require okay, why is this children going into ortho? And so that just needs prior authorization, which they're now in work. And then through our provider visits last week, so being very proactive, provider visits last week, we identified 4 more claims that had not been paid, and so they're now they're being paid. The unfortunate part is the timing of how long it took to get the claims and know about them, right? I can tell you from the standpoint that Aflac is very not only reactive, but proactive, especially with Wiseborn and your group on figuring out where these claims are getting paid. And now it's running pretty smooth. Just for example, on this new platform we went to, 10% of the claims were being auto-adjudicated. That means it comes in the system, nothing touches it, it goes out to the provider payment, boom, 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 10%. So 90% of the claims are in backlog. Now it's 88% are being auto-adjudicated on our system platforms. We've made those changes that need to be made to have those things automatically come out and go and get paid to your provider. Next slide. And is there any questions on those claims?
Can you just clarify the difference between cleared, issued? Yeah, those are the payments cleared versus payments issued.
Huh?
That one, yeah. So on the payments cleared versus the payments issued, so the payments cleared are the ones that have actually been processed, sent out, and checks have been cashed. We have verification that they are in bank accounts and taken care of. Whereas the payments issues are ones that have been sent out and either the provider hasn't cashed the check yet, or the provider hasn't processed the payment yet internally, but has been sent out. And we have, which we provided to Nisha team, we actually have provided all of the routing numbers, tracking numbers, everything, the actual claim amounts, the claim dates, everything like that. There's certain information that we had to hold back due to HIPAA regulations on that. But we have been able to show that all those have been sent out and processed for all the pending claims that were still outdated as of the 2023 claims. But like you pointed out on the new one, you can see where we are everything 2024 moving forward. We've been able to timely and efficiently get those payments out, just as you would have experienced with a previous provider.
That's good. And it's a great question. It's actually what it comes down to right now is timing. All this stuff happened in April where we're identified the claims paying. So the dental office may have not have just 2 weeks ago, not have the check in hand. So that's claims. So claims are working, they're identified going forward. We're good. We have a good grasp of it. Next part of it is your network, your providers. What can we do to help, one, educate your providers, see if we can get them in network. And so we've had literally boots on the ground here, targeting your providers, not necessarily just any dental office, but actually Wyvern member dental offices. So we hit in the last 2 weeks, 52 locations. 7 of them were already contracted lease networks. 3 of them we have some future follow-ups. 14 are reviewing information. So it's not automatic when they sign up, right? So you give them a provider handbook and they kind of go through how you treat the office, what your reimbursement fee schedule looks like. So they do a little bit of reviewing. The office manager will sit down with the provider and review that information. So we have those packets out right now. We know that 8 offices of those are considering to join. So that's a very positive feedback. And I can tell you through across the country, while we're new with dental, and some dental offices do not sign up with insurance carriers, they are intrigued by Aflac just because of what the brand and the name and why. So it's a very positive thing across the country. To identify where the gaps are, we have 26 declined to participate of any of your members have seen. 8 of those aren't in any network. So meaning they weren't in your network previously. 11 of those 26 participate in one network. And I know what network that is, and I'll kind of explain a little bit of that. And then 7 of them participate in 2 to 9 networks, which means they're a little insurance friendly, but not like 12 or 16 insurance carriers. So it kind of depends on, maybe they have a couple clients that have their have a different carrier's dental insurance. We're seeing a lot of patients, so they sign up with some of those carriers. The 11 that participate in one network is where that happens is you don't have it's not a discounted network. So for most networks in dental insurance, you're asking that dental office to take a discount. We in turn are saying, hey, we're going to give you steerage. We're going to send you members to your dental office. We're going to be your marketing arm. But for that, we're going to ask a little bit of a write-off, and that's going to help the member as far as you know. It's kind of like, I'd say the old days where we actually, we never paid MSRP at the car dealership. It's kind of that same mentality when it comes to dental networks. But of those 11, they join one that they do not have to discount their fees. How do we handle those 26? We do that through the 95th percent UCNR that we have in your plan. So Jason did a really good job with designing the out-of-network benefits. So if your office does not participate in our network currently and may or may not later, we're going to pay 95th percentile on that in that zip code per that code. based on fair health and it's updated every 6 months. So what's that mean? It means you're not probably be balanced billed. It's gonna cut your insurance, if you go out of network, it's gonna cover 95th of those fees in that given area.
Any questions on that? We need to break that down a little further.
So if a dental provider is out of network, Aflac will still cover 95%?
Yeah, 95th of the providers in that zip code, of their fees submitted, we cover at the 95th percentile.
What does that mean?
You load them all up together, so maybe I'm charging 100, this person's charging 120 in the zip code, whatever, and it's just the 95th of it. So I say simple math is 9.5, if you have 10 dentists in a zip code, you have 9.5 and you're covering them at their fee schedule.
Want to break that down a little further for you guys?
You're paying in the top 5%.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, simplified math is you have 10 providers, 9.5 of those providers are going to charge identically the same rates, basically. There'll be one guy who thinks their service is phenomenally higher, or lady thinks their service is phenomenally higher, so they're charging 120 instead of $100. And so we're going to pay 95% across those 100. The extra 20 you're going to have covered out of pocket, basically, is what that works out. So we would cover the fee schedule for all those other providers, and the one that's the extra $20, you're gonna pay basically we'll pay up to 95% of that, you're gonna pay the difference.
So in a given area, let's just say a crown costs, it's $1,200 here. And we're gonna pay at the 95th, I can't do that math right now, but we're
Say
gonna.
1,000.
Yeah, so we're gonna pay $950. And then there may be a bill, a $50 balance billing if that is more than what the provider charges.
Gentlemen, if I may, did you not tell us when we signed up for this program? Full disclosure, I'm really angry. When we signed up for this program, that you would match all of the current providers and provide at or better with current providers.
So
on
yeah,
our prior program.
So yeah, when we initially talked, we've done a test sampling of the group already, and we were able to cover those providers in the area. Typically, how we would do it is you do like a utilization kind of report. You run hey, what do we actually cover in this area? And so we went through it and we test sampled the group here. We covered the majority of them. There are a select group of individuals that go to a select few providers, which were not in the network. And so those are the ones that are actually falling under the 8 and 11 that we have been strenuously going after to get them contracted in the network. 2 of them, I'll be frank, are struggles because of our billing situation that we did and had issues with. Dr. Fiati is one of them. I know some of that name's probably coming around the board a lot. We're working with them internally to strengthen up our partnerships and make sure that we can provide access to your members here without any type of pre-clause or prepayment issues that they have to deal with. That is still a work in progress. So on that point, we entered in good faith with doing the test sample and stuff like you would normally do with a typical standard process. Unfortunately, there were some gaps in that when we came to the final table. And like I said, the mass majority of your people here, we cover most of their providers. And there are the few that we have run into, which have been our biggest pain points that we've run into from that standpoint. As far as the in-network costs, we are matching. Out-of-network costs is where we're having that issue on that. The only other caveat to that is the 4 cleanings, which I know has come up a lot. And so I'll just address that and be transparent with that. So your old plan was an ASO plan. So that's basically a self-funded plan where you guys had 4 dental cleanings. The reason why that was able to be provided to you was because you pay for it. So Delta's standard plans are not filed like that. Part of insurance, we have to file, put in a bunch of different things. Every carrier is the same way. Standard filings allow for up to a 3-1, which is basically 3 cleanings without any prerequisite, no medical, no clearance, and nothing else. With a 1 additional for medical needs, diabetes, pregnancy, etc. The reason why Delta on your guys' current plan or previous plan that you had allowed for the 4 is because you funded it from your program. So you paid for the extra 1 out of pocket. You paid for all 4 of them because it was dollars coming out of your budget paying for the self-insurance versus ours where it's a fully insured. So that's where kind of that savings also came from too, is because we are taking on the full burden and weight of your insurance costs on that aspect. That's where some of the cost savings came in, why we were able to produce $100,000 roughly in value back to you guys from the cost savings standpoint. is because we were eating the fully insured cost on that. And so there is some out of pocket that ended up coming from some of those, especially with the out of network based on that. So for the district as a whole, it saved money. For the actual cost of the insurance to the employer, it saved money. And for the end user, your client saved money. There are, especially outside of network, are some of those, like I said, 95 percentiles where we do have out of pocket costs that are unfortunately passed on, which is why we are working diligently to have all of our people put back into network to try to streamline that so we don't have that cost. That's also part of the strategy was to have a higher, more robust out of network, because this is more robust than most people would have for an out of network build out, which is why I built that way to ensure that when we did have situations that arose, we would be doing the most minimal impact to your student or staff here on site. And our goal was to then develop the plan as we go through, renewal years where we were able to add providers, stuff like that. And we could lower the cost to you, but also increase the benefits on the network side because we have the providers in that network. Again, that's part of our recruitment strategy we're still working through, driving to help engage and make sure that we can provide to Weisburn as a whole. And again, like I talked to when we first started, unfortunately, we failed on some of our promises, but we're working diligently to shore those up, fix them, and bring solutions to the table for you.
What I just heard you say is, when you first came to us, this program is equal to or better what you're currently getting at less cost to our staff and less cost to the district. What I'm hearing you now say is, this program is not equal to what you had before. Here's the reason why, and sorry. That's what I just heard.
What I would add to it is, of the 26 that declined to participate in our network, there are 19 of those that aren't a network. Even 11 in the one network. What you had before was the premier plan as well. Those that participated there was never a discount. So you were paying, the member is 99%. They were going paying retail, full retail basically when we went to that dental office. So I think the plan's better actually.
A comment here. I certainly understand why you're here. I do appreciate you being here.
Yes.
I would also like to, and maybe it's in your presentation, so I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'd like to hear from you, what is the plan moving forward to keep this level of payment and responsiveness to our dental providers so that our families get the services that they're paying for in terms of their premiums? Because although Aflac did not process the payments, that put our families and the dental providers in a difficult situation. Families buy insurance because they can't necessarily afford to pay out of pocket for their full services when they're delivered. It's actually very uncomfortable to be in your dentist office and have them keep asking you, when am I going to receive payment for the last service that I provided you? So I'll tell you, the reason some of these providers are staying with Aflac, it's not the Aflac brand. It's the conversations and the provider, the fact that this person or this dental practice has been my dentist for 20 years, and that's the service provider that we have. So I want to make sure that I have a good understanding the next time I walk into my dental office that it's being taken care of, and I appreciate, again, those numbers that you showed, but moving forward, what is that plan so that I don't have an embarrassing dental visit?
Perfect. So we're actually going to talk about some of that in the next slide. I'd also like to talk from a personal standpoint. I'm a South Bay member here. I have a place here in Hermosa I live. I also have Aflac Dental. Again, I work for Aflac. I've experienced the same problems, unfortunately, with my own provider here in the market, which is why I'm here telling you that this is not just me fixing this for you guys. It's also fixing it for myself. And fortunately, we've been able to add that gentleman and his network to our network and be able to move forward with that. But we also had payment issues. They reached out to me like, hey, wait, what's this? And I'm like, I go back in my setup and I was like, we didn't process payment. That is weird. Why haven't we? And following through on that. So again, a lot of those payment issues where you're seeing the situation where you're talking about, and again, I can list almost every single one. Nisha can talk to. Me and David have been hands-on with every single individual that's come through, talk to the office managers. We've been on site, not to ensure that we keep Aflac, but to make sure that your clients, your staff are getting the actual service they deserve and should be provided to them. So It's not out of saving. I understand completely if you guys want to push us out next year. I'm not here to shake the, the flag and say you guys should keep us and that's why we're here doing it. All transparency, we crapped the bed, if I'm just being blatantly honest with you guys. So my goal is not only to show up here to talk about how we can move forward, but how we can start to reignite the trust and the partnership that we have here, because at the end of the day, I do feel like the trust has been broken, the partnership has been broken. And so my goal is to come here and show up good faith to say, I'm not throwing my talent. I'm still in this dogfight with you guys if you want to have us with it and go through it and show you how we can move forward. So thank you for the next slide.
I'd also add to that we're actually continuing this marketing blitz as far as the provider recruitment, not just the Weisburn member dentists, other dentists in this area. We have a marketing blitz going on through May and specifically targeted around Los Angeles. So I cover from Indiana all the way to California, and I chose one market, and that was LA, to dedicate provider recruitment in the area, because we are definitely committed to it. So it'll continue to happen. We'll continue to recruit. We got a couple offices where they're, because of the pain points that you alluded to, Roger, they, from the last fall, that they're like, we're not comfortable yet, so we want you to pay all up front. And they call that direct member reimbursement. And it's been around for a number of years, but two of them are saying, hey, let's in the meantime, we're going to require, it's a burden on your members, then pay all up front and then back to the carrier to get to reimburse the member. So
unfortunately in that situation, that's the two providers that we all have known and talked to. I'm sure the board has heard about these names. Yeah. Just making sure, is the ones that we've talked about and dealt with. We are working with internal solutions still with them. What we've provided right now is typically there's a longer duration around how long it takes to get a member reimbursed. We've actually put together a white glove VIP service for you guys. We know that doesn't fix the problem, but what we're trying to do is if somebody has to pay out of pocket, that over the percentage, we want to make sure they get reimbursed ASAP, which is why we have it set up in here with our DMR for less than 30 days, which is not standard. Standard practices is typically 60 to 120 days for reimbursement on something like that. So we're streamlining the process to get that back while we still negotiate and go to the tables with those offices to figure out how we can provide a solution and what do they need from their standpoint to feel more confident in being able to set payments up that. Because ultimately it's on us with that one because of our inability to process payments timely and effectively for them. So again, rebuilding the relationships with them. Unfortunately, like I said, the two that we did hit, I think impacted roughly about 17 of your members. So that was where we are. I mean, when you look at the size of Weisburn, we're talking almost 10 to 12% of that group. So it's a big impact. And so that's why we're working diligently day in, day out. I'd be lying if I think I said I had less than 1,500 emails going back and forth with providers, with Weisburn, with the team, with David and staff. So again, I'm not trying to say this is fixed, but I'm here on a peace offering, basically say, here's an olive branch. I'm here to work through you guys. So that means also if we need to provide a detailed summary report with our next steps and action plans are outside of this, we'll provide it to the board's approval to have them take an oversight on that to make sure that we're doing what meets the board's needs to feel confident in what we're doing to move forward. And again, I know you guys are going to be looking at renewals here coming up soon. We're going to do everything we can to show you through and through that we're here with a partnership to help you guys succeed and better our plans along the process and make sure we get the benefits that Weisburn deserves and needs.
Yeah, and I would just add that, I'm coming from corporate. Corporate is knows Weisburn, knows your pain, and that's part of what a reason for me being here. I will say also those two dental offices are just on a wait and see type of approach. So they're interested, but they've just been burned a little bit. So as we take care of the member, I really believe those offices will come on board. And how we're going to do that is we're just going to show them, we've committed a couple things. One, your direct member reimbursement VIB program. We are going to mail out to the members that see these offices that are requiring payment up front. They'll have our director of claims, he's actually probably vice president claims, direct line email. We'll mail them the form with instructions. And then we will say, okay, give us the receipt of it and we'll pay you within a week. knowing there's still, that it hurts, but we'll get you paid right away. And we'll provide audits to the providers to show them that we're paying their members promptly, and that'll be the case in point to get them to sign on. And it's, if we're talking 10,000 groups, whatever, this is custom for you guys, and I believe it's gonna work. And I think it's just the first evolution of what we can do to help educate your members and the provider offices going forward.
That's the last of that. So we have it open to any questions you might have out of that. Again, I understand, your frustration. I've worked on some of the stuff, so.
And let me, again, echo Roger's words. Thank you for coming. I appreciate this. You're coming into a difficult situation. I appreciate you. Today I reached out to one of the dentists on the program. And the office manager told me 4 months ago, they weren't paid. They're now paid up to 2 months ago. They're still waiting for payment for the last 2 months. They also said that this is, I think, one of the three, I'm not going to mention the name, but it's one of the three biggest providers of our district. She mentioned this program provides lesser service across the board than our prior provider. Again, I'm looking at you guys provided us a peer-to-peer comparison. We looked, this is equal to or better than. When we looked at it, we went through that together. Our members are receiving less services covered, and she said, you're now receiving 50% payment of what we received before. So I'm looking out for our staff. I'm looking out for our community of dentists. I learned today that the 3 versus 4 was not something that was met. And I think my comment to you is you have an opportunity here. I'm going to bright side. You have an opportunity. My world is financial services, and I talk with my clients, and I ask my clients, who are the folks with whom you have the best relationships? And they said, the answer is universally, the best relationships are with those we had problems with and we fixed. You have that opportunity with us, but you have a lot to fix. And I want to give you another brief story, if you'll bear with me. About 25 years ago, you'll remember Silo. It was like a Best Buy of the day. I don't know if you guys remember Silo. I bought a TV from Silo. It was a big screen TV. Now, 25 years ago, before digital TVs, this TV weighed 300 pounds. Literally. So I ordered it, and because it was big, they did a delivery. I said, I can't get this, will you deliver it? So they delivered it to my front porch. So I got my neighbor, and we hustled this 300-pound thing into the cabinet when we used to have the big cabinets, remember those? We plugged it in, it didn't work. Called Silo and said, will you pick this thing up? No, we only deliver it. So I got my buddy and we put it back, thankfully, out of the truck, and we took it back to Silo. It's all we can do to get them to come to the truck and take it out and put it back in. And I said, what will you do for me? And they said, we'll give you another TV, a replacement, which they handed me. They wouldn't deliver it. So I put it back in the truck, we put it back in, and we plugged it in. It worked. Problem solved. Not really. Because there's the hassle. There's the aggravation, there's the time, there's the stress, there's my bag going out, whatever, right? That's where we are right now. And you guys are kind of just delivered the TV to the front porch. I don't know how you solve this, but candidly, we don't need to get back to even. You got to address the hassle factor, because this has been pretty ugly. The ugly, and I'm not trying to beat you up here, but it's been remarkably ugly.
100%.
So I want to take care, we all want to take care of our team. We want to take care of our dentists. I'm going to assume you guys do too. That's in your interest. So I don't know that we need another presentation. From my perspective, I leave that to our president and others. But I would like to see how you get us not back to normal or par, but better than.
100%. And again, as a South Bay resident, and my, like I told Nisha stuff, and that's why I brought up, my reputation is tarnished to an extent. Even here in my own community where I live, I breathe, I'm here at Hermosa Unified, up down the street. I've got kids that play here, stuff like that. Kids go to beach babies, all that stuff. So I'm ingrained in this community here. So when I see it, it's not like this. Like most of the dentists, I sit down the street or I'm in their offices and I'm next door because of our clients and stuff like that. So this is as much as a brunt to me as it is to you guys in the sense of like, I sold a bill of goods that unfortunately we haven't made good on. And so that's the one thing I promise you. I will either find a way we make this better. I will tell you to leave us, please. And then that's the two things I can do.
Find a way to make it better, we all win.
I would love that. That's the goal. And that's what we'll do.
So I want to thank you both for being here, obviously under difficult circumstances, as it's been mentioned. And I'm not going to repeat, I think I have the same concerns that both Neil and Roger mentioned. The only thing I would ask you is in looking at the spreadsheet, I think 65% of our dental offices have been, the payments have been issued, but we don't know if they've been cashed yet. And I know you have issues with the systems. What I would like you to do is make sure that you follow up and confirm that those payments, they've received them and that they process.
I will definitely bring that report for sure.
That's really important.
You know, and
in terms of our staff, anybody that's come out of pocket, I really want them reimbursed as soon as possible. And that's the exercise. It's that follow through that I would like with Nisha, Dr. Duval here. That's all I ask. And then again, I think Neil said it eloquently. If there's anything, find a way of how you can come back and say, this is what we're doing, we're doing that.
Yep, agreed. And I'm just gonna direct a question real quick, Nisha. As far as I know, I believe we have everything outstanding paid up for any direct claims that we had, correct? There's nothing out besides the vision, which we already sent off today?
The direct claims, yes,
Okay.
but I do need the spreadsheet on.
For everybody else. Perfect. So yeah, so we are caught up on the direct claims portions of it that you're talking about. We've taken care of that. And we can, like I said, we'll provide the documentation minus the HIPAA information. So like the pertinent, we can do little modifiers to make sure to show that things have been taken care of.
I just want to make sure that a lot of our small businesses, and these are dental offices, they're paid. I mean, it's end of April.
Yep.
And they've gone quite a bit. So if you could follow through on that, we appreciate it.
And then last request from you guys, the one that you talked about where you had the issue you just recently talked to. Can we get that
Happy to
sent?
share that. I want to do it publicly.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. If you could share that, I would love to dig into that this week.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll get that dug into this week and take care of it. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
No, thank you for coming.
Well, we appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to have some time to speak with you today. Thank you so much.
I got to listen to a lot of great programs you guys are
Yes.
considering.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take a slight recess, a 5-minute recess, and then we'll be back.
We've got board member reports first.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We're now gonna go to board member reports, and Roger, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you, Nelson. Just wanted to just reiterate my appreciation for the aviation math family night. I know I made the comments earlier, we had that presentation, but it was truly a wonderful event. I really look forward to seeing some of those and attending some of those at some of our other school nights as well. So I want to just express my appreciation on that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Rebecca?
Thank you. Let me get back up to the. Okay, so, I know Library Week was celebrated earlier this month, and I wanted to read just a quick portion of the governor's proclamation. It says that California's library workers play an essential civic role, helping people of all ages and all backgrounds access the resources, programs, and services they need, and serving as a key resource for trusted information. Librarians help us start new chapters at every stage of our lives, from showing us the magic of reading as children to teaching us new skills in our golden years.
All too often, libraries and librarians face censorship and attacks amid rising school and library book challenges, many targeting LGBTQ+ authors and writers of color. It's more important than ever that we recognize the significance of books and materials that reflect the breadth of our rich, diverse community and defend the essential role of public libraries in protecting intellectual freedom. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of the librarians in our district and across the country for helping students discover new worlds and themselves through the magic of books. I'm sorry I'm a little emotional, but my Uncle Paul was the longtime librarian of the Judaica collection at the UC Berkeley Library, and he passed away last week. So it feels fitting to remember the power of librarians to shape who we are. Yesterday was also the start of the Jewish holiday of Passover, so Chag Pesach Shmeach to all who are celebrating. For thousands of years across the globe, the Jewish people have celebrated Passover and told the story of Exodus as a reminder that we have not always been free. If our freedom is dependent on the oppression of other people, we will never truly be free. And I think that libraries and books have the power to continue to teach us those things. So, just wanted to share that. I look forward to attending all of the open houses at our schools this week and the book fair at Aviation, so we can continue to enjoy the power of books.
Thank you.
Rebecca, sorry for your loss. One of our values is collaboration. I know Blake had to step out. One of the things I would ask him and perhaps Eileen and Nisha is that I think there was an exercise to build our foundation elements in a infographic. Ideally, my vision would be to see that on the wall here, but to have that infographic so we can be reminded of what our mission, our vision, our values, et cetera. I mentioned collaboration as one of the values because it was thrilling to see that in the math adoption process. So kudos to the team for involving so many of our teachers in that process. Nice to see the value exemplified and the way it was done. I applaud. Thank you. Math is, as Roger has diligently shared with us many times, our most important directive this year. One thing we've done in the past is have Bite of Reality at our end of year middle school. I don't know if that's in the plans again this year, but it's a wonderful opportunity for students to learn about managing money. It's my understanding, by the way, that Da Vinci in the high school is making a full court press on financial education at all levels, at all schools, which I'm thrilled to see. And this would be a great inroad to that for our matriculating students. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Just some minor comments. I also echo the comment that Roger made about Math Night. I had a chance to attend. It was a wonderful event, the excitement, and obviously tied with our math initiative, as Neil said. I'm looking forward also to the open houses coming up and also to Winesburg Rock Around the Block that's scheduled to come up here May 4th, so coming soon. And then just the last item, I wanted to, and I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I'm not going to pronounce it properly, but for those of you that don't know, Malachi, who was a Winesburg student, is now a Da Vinci student, was recently named one of 20 boys to the 2024 U19 U.S. Men's Volleyball Olympics. So congratulations to him and his family. I happen to know him and his family, and I still can't pronounce their last names, so I apologize. And that's all I have. Dr. Dougal, I will turn it over to you now on district leadership reports. Just know that item 8.2 was already taken care of earlier.
Perfect, thank you. We have a report from our CDO on our AMIM and LRGB expenditure plan. Start off.
Welcome again, Jason.
I have it right here. Thank you. Let me get the PowerPoint up. Amen. We have these new acronyms, Amen.
Here we go, another one.
I know.
First one this year.
Let's get. A little lag. Okay, great. So, just want to say, this is, it's been good. I mean, we've worked together to come up with, really, an expenditure plan for both of these. And I'm going to just go through really the background, how the district we're planning to use this. And I'll get into kind of some of the rules around it and what we need to consider. Again, you see here, I think the biggest lesson of the night is knowing what AMEM stands for. I've said this many a times, and even up until I think last week, I was saying amen. No, it's AMEM, Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant Program. And I've seen that amen before the grant program, after the, there's a mix. Sometimes they put discretionary in there. That's a key word too, and I'll mention that later. And then of course the other monies, which I'm gonna call one-time monies. And so that's another key phrase you wanna hear, one-time monies. Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, or LREBG. So we're gonna be going over the review of those plans and then the budget. So starting on the left, and this is just a quick shot, you probably don't have those dollars on your PDF in front of you, but AMEM, our allocation, 1.5 million, right around there. But here we talk about some differences. And for one, you'll see the differences of the money. LREBG is 1.8 million. You'll see on the left, the Arts, Music, Instructional Material Block Grant. It does require a board to adopt the expenditure plan and have a discussion, therefore, about that plan as well. So that's what we're doing tonight. I'm going to present it to you, and if you have questions or you want to discuss, and then of course later we'll have an item that will come that will be the approval of this expenditure plan as well. Again, one thing about AMEM, and also we can change it. We can come back and bring it back to board if we're going to change it or do something down the line. So just there's some flexibility in there. The other difference, if you go to LREBG, we have about 1.8 million, a little bit more. That does not require board approval. However, we're bringing it to you because this is a lot of money, and we should be transparent, and your input is valued in this process. On the other side, you see that AMEM that can pay for increased health and welfare benefits, and really that's operational costs. So it's definitely more flexible as to what we can use it for. On the right side, you'll see more direct services and professional development, a little more restricted, but we can, the bottom line there, we can use it, we can actually supplant as well for both of them, but how we spend it's a little nuanced there. Expiration dates, AMEM coming up quicker. So we see 25, 26, whereas LREBG 26, 27. And of course, similarities. That indirect cost, so everything we spend with this money, we can essentially put like our district tax on it, if you will, our indirect cost rate, which is about 3.89%, and that will be included in the budget expenditure plan as well. And I put on both sides, you see that supplanting permitted, which would be different. Like if we talk about categorical Title I or Prop 28, you cannot supplant with those monies. That has to be in excess or in addition. You can't, you cannot use something you've paid general fund before for this. But for this money, these monies, you can do that. So you'll see also the bottom similarity, one-time funding. I'll say that. Any questions about any of these, the differences and similarities?
The AMEM, is that prop that passed last year?
No,
Okay.
yeah, so Prop 28 that's the other funding. That's gonna be ongoing, okay, and that will be, it will not allow for supplanting, so we'll have to supplement. But it'll be ongoing, about 370,000 that we'll keep getting, in perpetuity. Hopefully in perpetuity, you never know.
Jason, when you're saying not supplanting, why don't you clarify that?
Yeah, so you have supplement and supplant. If I'm going to supplement something, I'm going to add to what we're already doing. So in the world of categorical or Title I funding, we're trying to help lower socioeconomic students or students that come from the unduplicated count or even LCFF supplemental. And we're trying to help them with those dollars to close a certain type of gap, so maybe they come mostly like we have about a 33% low socioeconomic, so we'd be helping those kind of students to close the gap. But it'd be in addition to our core program. Again, if we're supplanting, we're able to use these dollars for the core program. Okay. that we've already been paying for.
So like if we needed let's say we need to expand the number of music teachers that we had in the district because we have more TK students now and our current number of students can't be serviced adequately by them. Could we use,
So for Prop 28 funding, as long as it's above the actual expenditures we're using, that would be supplemental. We could use it for that.
okay,
We probably be cautious to do that here because these are short-term funds.
right, but we could use Prop 28 potentially for that, but this one we would potentially offset costs that we're currently
Correct.
paying.
I like that term offset. That's a
Okay.
very good
All
term
right.
for this. Let's see here. So we've picked 3 main categories for Amen. Again, I won't go through every single one of them because it's a lot of information, but we have a total of 5 categories. We're really focusing in on 3. The first one is really the materials, and we already talked about tonight about a textbook adoption. So we're going to be using this money for that textbook adoption. The middle one, you'll see improved school climate, so we can use it for any type of professional development with SEL, social emotional learning, or training thereof. And then of course operational costs. The term they talk about increased health and welfare benefits, but we can also use it for other operational costs. And we put a line in there for communications services that we use. We could use it for that as well. Any questions about these 3 categories?
I see retirement, I remember we did like an early buyout for some, or, we offered early retirement to a certain, yeah, could we use these funds to
Yes.
set what we've already paid out?
Again, it's not 100% clear. It just says increased health and welfare benefits. And it also says operational costs limited but not limited to increase in health and welfare benefits. So there's a lot of flexibility, and that's why the key word you'll see in a lot of the FAQs or the language on the CDE is discretionary in the title of Amen. But again, the one caveat here is we have to take it to board to approve whatever we spend, unlike LRUPG. Okay. So here's that first category just broken down. We're looking at 23-24 textbook adoption, about $350,000. And this is going to be coupled with some lottery funding because you saw that the textbook adoption in totality is around 500 and I can't remember 540 or something. But we're going to use anything that goes over that 350. We'll use the lottery funds for that. And of course, the other piece you'll see the PD for ELA, mathematics, and science. We'll have that for any type of teacher training. We can allot that for the 24-25 school year and 25-26. Okay. The other one, improving school climate, you'll see here, that's again, we can, this is for SELPD. So we really were looking at 2 areas. We have the instructional side for curriculum instruction, any type of, support we need for PD, we can use that. And then this one's going to be that SEL side for restorative practices, or if we're doing PBIS training, and we can, any planning, we'll have this bucket of money to use that for that.
We just heard from Dr. Ingram about the new Capturing Kids Heart program. Would that be something that we would?
We're going to
why are we not
have,
paying for that
we
yet?
can use it for that, but we also have it earmarked in LRUBG as well, and you'll see that in there. So you see here the operational cost piece, and that's that 3rd category I was talking about. We are going to assign $400,000 for 24-25, and that would be for next year, and then $400,000, and that's that operation cost for increase for health and welfare benefits. And then the second piece, communication support. We've seen a lot of improvement in our communications in general. I think as a district, and it's really done a great job. So we're going to continue to support that. Okay, so this is just in totality. So also one thing you didn't see was that 3.89%, which is our indirect costs. I got this down to really under $1. We'll see where we land. But so we're right there, but you'll see those are the 3 areas, and that's our indirect rate. The indirect rate, just to let you know, it does change from year to year based on the closing of the books and where we land. Last year it was in the low 4s. So could it go up? Yes. Could it change? Yes. And I'm gonna switch. Let me see. Okay, let me make sure now. that's the plan for this. There's an item that's also for approval, which is gonna be this plan, and there's a PDF in there that's of the template. So that's, again, when you wanna move that or motion that, you can have that discussion now, or you can talk about it now, or then or now. Okay? So the next, this is LREBG. We're looking at really just two categories. And this is, you'll see that accelerated progress to close learning gaps. And again, through expansion or enhancement of learning supports, and then integrating pupil supports to address other barriers to learning. And I want to make sure I'm not missing anything about that, but the total allocation is that 1.8 million. And let me just see if there's anything else. So if I were to break this down a little bit more, you know, we're talking about those one-on-one services. We can use it for that. Any type of teacher's assistance, like we have response to intervention teachers that, you know, push in and help. And again, they can help close that gap. Things we were doing before with ESSER money as well, and we can continue some of those items. And here's the first category. So for this current year, which, you know, again, we didn't have to have a board-approved plan, but we did bring the math program specialists for 23-24, and that represents salary and benefits and extra hours. Just because it says 0 in the, you know, the subsequent years doesn't mean we're going to do away with that. We're going to bring back to board a plan as to how we'll continue that support. Keep in mind the LCAP is still being done, and we're still trying to figure out supplemental, and so that's part of that plan we'll be bringing back as well. The second group down, you'll see that one-on-one small group support and really our tech aides. We have tech aides that are in the district now, but we're going to put some of the expenses, salary and benefits of those tech aides for the 24-25 school year. Now, will they cease to exist in 25-26? Yeah, you know, we're not going to say that. You know, we can either look at different funding at that point, but we'll move forward at that point. But for next year, we could use this money for that. We also have the RTI response to intervention teachers. We're looking at putting some of those expenses for next year in there, up to $206,000.
Jason, first of all, I would put my vote in on one vote towards continuing the math program specialist. That's a no.
Yes, it will be.
But it's already April. July 1 is 24-25. So.
For the, are you talking about when we move?
So I mean, I would think we'd want these projections pretty soon. I mean, we're only a few months away from that year.
These are just to spend the one-time.
This is how we're gonna be spending this money.
Right. You're saying we're not using it for that. I get it. I guess my question is, when do we see the budget projection for 24-25? Or we
that would be when we bring LCAP and the other items to board. We'll bring the budget and LCAP to board. And we're having, like Thursday, we're having an LCAP committee meeting, I believe. And we're going to be discussing that by Friday. I'm hoping to get all the dollars aligned with what the feedback from the community, you know, we receive. So that it is a very fast turnaround. But we need to make sure we're adhering to it. And again, just because we have zeros in out years doesn't mean those services are going away in the out years. It's just, that's how we're funding.
And thank you.
Yeah. Okay, this one's a little bit, you know, more, but we have the integrated student supports. Some of these things you've already seen probably come to board. Now, depending on when the actual dollars will hit, but we have Goldbook, which is a special education support tool to help write, I want to say effective and compliant IEPs, really to, it's an aid for the special ed staff to use. And we have Power School attendance monitoring. This has already paid dividends. I mean, we've seen a definite increase just in our attendance and ADA across the board. So we're hoping to see that grow over time. And we see 3 years of funding for that. And then we have that, we're doing a summer training institute. We're going to look at a week in August where people have options as to what they'll want to train for. I can't remember all of them, but it's going to be instruction. We'll have SEL programs for teachers to do. They'll have some options during that week. And then we have, I'm just going down the list. The classified site support monitoring. We're looking at bringing on some classified additional staff that can help with safety at the school sites. And again, right now we're looking at 3, possibly 4, depending on, you know, where we land with that, which would be for the 24, 25, and 25, 26 school year. Moving on down, you'll see, we have professional development, throughout the, 4 years there. We use Solution Tree, you've probably heard of, Core Learning, but we'll use it for that. We have NCI, Nonviolent Crisis Intervention Training, a de-escalation training, that, is, by the company CPI, Crisis Prevention Intervention. It's a great training, can't say enough about it, but it does give staff the tools to de-escalate situations, especially in our school sites. And then we also, I put Capturing Kids' Hearts there, but you see it's SEL as we move forward again. This one we can change, so, but that will be an SEL curriculum and support throughout the district. And then we have that Care Solace, which is that counseling piece for our students that our counselors use. Any questions about this second category?
Yes, it's 3+ years, that's right.
Yes. So again, this is just the breakdown of the two categories. You see the indirect, which is about $70,000. And I got it into under $1 right there. I think, there we go. Any questions or comments?
Questions or comments from the board? Oh, great, thank you.
Exciting stuff.
Thank you. This is all great news, Jason.
Yes, I have a request, bring more of those.
Always good when you talk about the money you're getting.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have that phone.
Well,
Give your update.
you want to do your thing? 'Cause
Go give your update.
we have, okay.
Oh, we're not doing that.
We're gonna hold the special ed.
We're not doing the sped.
Okay, I'm at the leisure of the board, if you wish to do session now, or we can hold off on it.
I defer to my colleagues.
How do you feel?
We should wait for Dr. Silvers to be here for that one.
Okay. We should move it for this.
Right. Knowing that we have no further reports from the district cabinet.
Just because it's on the agenda and people can see that it was going to be, right, it's on the public agenda that we were gonna do that. I just move that we table the special ed update that was planned in the district reports.
Yeah.
Table
Do
We need a
more?
second.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna table it for now and then we can bring it back to the next
You have a second.
thing.
All in favor?
Aye.
With apologies to Peggy and Jason.
Yes. So you have a few items in the initiative for 5.4?
Actually, we can move on because we will not be doing the mathematics update nor the superintendent's report.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Nisha. So we'll go ahead and move now to items from the public on agenda items. Wendy, do we have any?
I do not have any public comments.
Okay. We'll move to consent items.
We have a motion for 10-1 to 10-13.
Thank you, Neil.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Quick comment.
Yes.
Just wanted to say that I'm so glad that we are continuing to do the calendars 2 years out, because I know that people continue to ask for them, so thank you. Just
Good point.
for Measure, and so folks know, these calendars for the 25-26 school year are now public.
Okay. Right. All right, next item is 11.1 facilities. This is amendment number 2 to the agreement for the Holly Glen Elementary School traditional K classroom conversion project, architectural design services, Oregon. Do I have a motion?
Motion with a question.
Thank you, Neil. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Questions, comments? Neil, did you?
Just kind of a heads up on it more than doubled, so what was the difference, kind of what happened?
Scope was added. Originally, the contract with Corrigan was for the Del Air TK conversion project. We have now asked them to provide another quote for them to provide design services to cut in basically 4 doors to the back of the kindergarten building. Because now that we're going to be converting the and it's not for Del Air, I'm sorry, it's for Holly Klein, that's right. Confused. Now that we're gonna be converting the CDC building into TK classrooms, that way the kinder building and the TK building can play in the same TK courtyard. That is not part of the kinder. And as well as adding a play structure for the TK.
In my understanding, this provides a little more safety and expansion for the future.
Correct. So now those kindergarten classrooms will now have 2 exits, one from the front and one from the back. And that way those teachers, the TK and the kinder teachers can collaborate as well.
So it's a result of adding scope to their
Yeah.
service agreement.
Absolutely, at the request of the district, not them.
To improve services.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm excited that they're moving forward with that plan, because I know that it's been a challenge this year for the TK teachers to have some of them in the kinder yard and some of them.
Correct, they're having to go all around.
They have to walk all the way around.
Exactly.
Full campus with the kids at recess and all of that, so I'm really excited that we're making this happen for that.
Great. Thank you.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, fiscal items, 12.1, this is the approval of the expenditure plan for the AMIN block grant program. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, should have asked if any comments or questions. In a rush, sorry. I will. Thank you, everyone. Item 12.2, approve adoption of Eureka Math Resources for TK5 beginning the 24-25 school year. Obviously, this is the public hearing that we heard in the presentation that we heard. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion.
Thank you, Roger.
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any comments or questions?
Exciting to see how we're funding this with one-time money. Great use.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting.
And thank you to all of our participants in the math committee, and also in particular, Dr. Harvick. Thank you so much as well for your leadership. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Big lift.
Thank you. Thank you to the entire team involved. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Item 12.3, approve an agreement with School Business Inc. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Yeah. And do I?
I'll second.
Second, it's Roger. Any comments or questions on this? And this is to provide, I'm sorry, physical services support. Do I have any comments or questions?
I would think Dr. Silvers would be able to address the comments here. Is anybody else familiar with all the services they provide?
Yes, sure.
I know we use them significantly. Maybe you could address, help us get a sense of all the ways in which they're providing value to us, because the investment is not immaterial.
Yeah, for one, I want to give some comparison. A previous contract we had was just give some ideas about 260 an hour, and then we were asked to go up to 350 an hour. So the fact that this contract we're at 190, going up to 195. I asked for the 100,000, and again, I'll get to the answer, but I asked for 100,000 because we do have a little bit left on the PO to get through this year. But I just said instead of bringing additional funds, let's just get the
And for
contract.
clarity, that's a not to exceed.
Yes, exactly, not to exceed. So the services are the technical services that typically a director of fiscal would do. Looking at many districts at our size, which I've kind of done a comparison, and a person at that level with benefits would anywhere from 170 to 180,000 would be the cost to have a person that does that job. Districts our size and bigger usually have a director of fiscal or a principal accountant, and these are usually certificate or not. How about this exempt employees that are doing this higher level pieces that are technical, such as I'll be bringing an AB 1200. It's a very complicated document, and this is a great example of what I work with this person. One-on-one, we go line by line, and it's just that double checking piece. Also, any of the SACS uploads, any of the documents that when we're looking at projections or it's a second set of eyes that we definitely need that keeps us in check and just as far as the numbers.
They're also the source for our May revise presentation, correct?
Oh, yeah, yes. Well, their source of that, yeah, this person has all that information. It's one person, by the way. This isn't a team. This is a one person that we work with. And again, a former CBO that has a lot of experience in this area. But other services, any of the SACS documents that we're putting together, they are going to get uploaded, those pieces, and even some of the best reports to pull reports down, put reports in, that are really during those periodic reports we do for budget adoption, year-end closing, and also helps with the audits as well. So, okay.
Thank you, Jacob. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Last item, 13.1, approved job description and salary schedule for the Director of Education Services. Do I have a motion?
No, I'm just kidding. I think Candy.
Yeah, we're not doing I do presume we're going to have a deserved astronomically aggrandizing recognition for Dr. Harbeck at some point in the immediate near future. So please know you're in our hearts and minds.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All joking aside, I move to approve.
Relooked it. Do I have a second?
Second.
No. We still have to vote on this. All in favor?
Hi.
I guess.
I guess.
Yeah,
All right, upcoming dates and event, as I mentioned earlier, we have Rock Around the Block coming, May 4th, quickly here, May 4th, 9 a.m.
Auction open soon
Auction
for that,
open soon,
so
yeah.
keep an eye out for that.
Anything else?
Open houses that are this week.
We have open house tomorrow night for aviation in Del Air and Holly Glen, May 1st.
and the times on those for everybody.
It depends on the school. I know Del Air is at 6.
So it's aviation.
Both are tomorrow, aviation and.
Aviation and Del Air are both tomorrow.
Holly Glen is right at 5:30.
And then,
Right.
Thursday.
May
Wednesday
1st.
the 1st.
yes,
Next.
that's May 1st. And then I just want to point out that Whitesboro Middle School has student conferences on May 22nd. Which is their replacement because they had Winterim halfway through the year. So now they have student-led conferences, which all the parents attend.
Is the Holly, Glen and Wiseburn usually start at 6 o'clock as well? No.
PTA first.
So now,
Any other upcoming dates or events that we should be aware of? Okay, got it covered. All right, thank you. We'll have a motion to adjourn in a second.
I so move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you.